So police in the UK have named a 25-year-old man being questioned over the murder of the British MP Sir David Amess. Ali Harbi Ali is reported to be the son of a former advisor to the Somali Prime Minister. He's currently being held under the Terrorism Act following the incident on Friday in southeastern England. British media reports say he'd previously been referred to a terrorism prevention scheme. Well, let's get the very latest on this now and talk live to Andrew Wilson, who's been following the story. And Andrew, what more do we know then about this suspect's background?
Well, the name has been released by police, and of course reporters around the country are doing their research and coming up with all sorts of interesting information about this man, Ali Harbi Ali. He's 25 years old. He's from London. He seems to have been brought up in Croydon, which is a suburb of South London, where he went to school. He seems to have, some say, had some employment, perhaps in the NHS, but also seems to have been operating pretty much alone. Police have confirmed again they're not looking for anyone else in this investigation. 3 properties have been earmarked for being searched by counter-terrorism police, all of them in London, 2 in North London and 1 in down south in Croydon, believed to be the family home which Ali Harbi Ali was raised in. His father, Harbi Ali Kulani, has given an interview to one of the British newspapers saying that he's shocked to discover that his son is in police custody, but that he confirms that, yes, he understands that he is in police custody, but he can offer no further explanation. This business of the Prevent scheme, where Harbi Ali was in contact with the Prevent scheme a few years ago. Prevent is when a doctor or a teacher or a police officer or a member of the public services can recommend somebody to go and be interviewed by a panel that can investigate their circumstances for their own welfare. It's stressed to see if they might be vulnerable to the influences of terrorism or Islamic extremism. So he seems to have run in with the Prevent scheme at some point a few years ago, but it's been stressed and revealed in Whitehall circles that he's never been on any kind of watch list as far as MI5, the domestic services, security services are concerned. They have about 3,000 individuals on their watch lists, and Harbi Ali wasn't one of them, which gives you an idea of the extent of what we're dealing with and what the counter-terrorism police forces are dealing with in the country at the moment. This is just one of many that may or may not have been across their books.
And Andrew, as the British public begins to process the horror of what happened last Friday, all the talk shows are alive with the idea about MPs' jobs being very dangerous. What's the government been saying about security for MPs?
Well, this is the brief of the Home Secretary, Priti Patel, to deal with. She has spoken about this in the last 48 hours a couple of times, and she said, yes, of course, they will be looking again at security for MPs. MPs have consistently reported over the last 5 years, particularly since the murder of Joe Cox, a Labour MP in 2016, that they do feel vulnerable, that they do feel, particularly in social media now, they get more threats, they get more harassment, they get more threats to their safety and to their family's safety as well, most of which they dismiss, but nonetheless it makes life harder for them. MPs, remember, are just ordinary people who've been elected into office. That most MPs do report some sort of an uptick over the last 5 years in personal security, whether it's the locks on their homes, CCTV, or panic buttons being installed in either their private offices or their own homes. Priti Patel has said that there is quite a possibility now that we could see these MP surgeries where they meet with members of the public now having a police officer present. But it's not going to be the case that they're going to withdraw this custom of MPs meeting with their constituents. That is pretty much sacrosanct across Westminster. MPs realise that that is their function, to transmit the hopes and fears of the people to the parliamentary debate. And without these face-to-face meetings, they can't do that. But they may become slightly more complicated and overseen by security services than they were in the past.